In this video, I'm going to be explaining Final Fantasy VIII's hidden iceberg. This image was created by the Reddit user Twitch2Maker. It shows different theories, Easter eggs, and mysteries that lie within Final Fantasy VIII's hidden world. The deeper we go, the darker the topics get, so I hope you're prepared. This one's basic, and everyone who's played Final Fantasy VIII knows that this is a minigame that became one of the most beloved side activities in the series. It's a card game where players collect and battle cards featuring characters, monsters, and GFs from the game. Squall's supposed catchphrase in Final Fantasy VIII, it epitomizes his indifferent personality, particularly in the game's early stages, reflecting his reluctance to emotionally connect with others. This phrase is often used as a defense mechanism, although I will say this. In the Japanese version of the game, he replies very differently and rarely has any connection with the word whatever, saying things like not really, it doesn't matter, or it's nothing. There's not really much speculation to why the English translators did this, but it exists. Timber Maniacs is a recurring in-game magazine in Final Fantasy VIII that provides background lore and flavor to the world. Scattered across various locations, these magazines are remnants of a defunct publishing house from Timber, a town under Galbadian occupation. Interestingly, Timber Maniacs articles appear in the tutorial section under Laginas Traveler's Journals, giving glimpses into Laginas' past adventures as a soldier, journalist, and eventful leader of Esthar. Draw is a core gameplay mechanic in Final Fantasy VIII that allows characters to extract magic from enemies, draw points, or GF abilities. Drawing is directly linked to the mysterious and somewhat unsettling concept of magic and how it operates within the world of Final Fantasy VIII. In the game's lore, magic exists in the form of mana, which is sourced from the sorceress and the planet's life force. This magic can be harnessed through draw points, which are special locations scattered throughout the world. These points are essentially areas where the energy of the planet itself are leaking. Infused with magical properties, the magic in these draw points is not a static resource, but rather a living dynamic force that can be collected, stored, and used by the player. Dreamers are individuals who possess a unique connection to the mysterious and powerful force known as time compression. Dreamers are typically those who can manipulate or experience alternate timelines and memories, and they play a central role in the game's deeper themes of fate, time, and memory. The GFs are revealed to be significant in this process as they act as vessels for the memories of previous dreamers. When Squall and the others summon GFs, they are tapping into a flow of memories and alternate timelines, essentially becoming dreamers themselves to some degree. Junctions are a core gameplay mechanic in Final Fantasy VIII, fundamentally shaping the way characters progress and grow in terms of stats and abilities. The GFs have a deep connection to the game's lore in Final Fantasy VIII. It is revealed that the GFs are ancient entities tied to the planet's history, having existed long before the events of the game. They are powerful mystical beings that have the ability to manipulate time, space, and reality, playing a role in the events of the game's past. Diablos is not acquired through traditional storyline events, but instead requires the player to use a magic lamp, an item that can be attained by talking to Cid after the mission briefing. Once the player uses the magic lamp, they are transported to a special battle where they face Diablos as a boss. The reasoning behind why Cid gives you the magic lamp is tied to several story elements and themes. Cid is often portrayed as a pragmatic leader with a hidden agenda. His decisions and actions, including giving the player the magic lamp, are all a part of his larger plan to ensure the survival and success of his students and garden. The act of giving the magic lamp can be seen as a way for Cid to demonstrate his control over the forces of power within the world of Final Fantasy VIII. They are a special group of elite warriors tied to the Seed organization. Through their origins and true purpose are more obscure than the main Seed members that players encounter throughout the game. The White Seeds are revealed to be a separate group that operates in the shadows, and they are ultimately connected to the Seed organization. Unlike the standard Seeds, who are students trained at Balam Garden or other gardens, the White Seeds are an offshoot that operates more covertly, sometimes even outside the official boundaries of the garden institutions. They are more secretive and often operate as mercenaries, though their motives and full agenda are hidden for much of the game. The White Seed ship is notoriously difficult to find, and this is a deliberate design choice that ties into the game's broader themes of mystery. There are specific requirements that need to be met, including advancing the story to a certain point and triggering the appropriate event. The ship becomes accessible during a part of the game when the player has progressed far enough into Renoa's storyline, as the ship is tied to her past and family's connection to the sorceress's legacy. Zeldinja from Final Fantasy VIII and Tifa Lockhart from Final Fantasy VII are both spunky and passionate and loyal characters who often act as emotional core of their respective parties. Both characters show great care for their friends and have a strong sense of loyalty, often putting others before themselves. Both Zell and Tifa fall into the tough but caring fighter archetype, a trope that common in RPGs. They are both physically strong characters who possess compassionate personalities, often acting as the emotional pillars for their group. Squall is the most prominent example of an estranged orphan in Final Fantasy VIII. He grew up without his parents being raised in Balam Garden after being left there at a very young age. His emotional distance from others and his general aloofiness can be traced back to the trauma of losing his family at such an early age. Squall's estrangement is not just from his family, but also from his peers. He is isolated from others, not allowing anyone to get too close to him, and his fears of abandonment make him push people away. Save the Queen is an ultimate weapon for Quistis. It is the only ultimate weapon whose materials can be obtained without leaving Balam Garden via Triple Triad and Card Mod. Save the Queen is a recurring weapon throughout the Final Fantasy franchise, often associated with themes of nobility, royalty, and protection. It is typically a weapon wielded by knights, paladins, or individuals charged with protecting their kingdom or queen. Ehrgeiz is also an ultimate weapon meant for Zell. The name Ehrgeiz, meaning ambition or drive in German, resonates with Zell's personality. Zell is a passionate, high-energy character with an unyielding desire to prove himself. The weapon symbolizes his determination to rise up and his refusal to back down, even when the odds are against him. Seed was founded to combat sorceresses, individuals capable of wielding immense magical strength. The organization's ultimate goal was to prepare for and eventually confront the threat of the sorceresses who might use their power for destruction. Edea Krama, who was once a sorceress herself, foresaw the threat of the sorceresses like Ultimacia. With her husband Sid, she worked and established a force capable of resisting such threats. Renoa, one of the game's central characters, falls under the control of the sorceress Ultimacia and begins acting against the party. With Ultimacia's influence broken from Edea, she shifts her possession to Renoa, who had recently been revealed to have the potential to become a sorceress. Under Ultimacia's control, Renoa's actions ends with her freeing Sorceress Adele. Siren is acquired early in the game by drawing her from the boss Alvaret during the mission at Dollet. Siren, her special ability, Silent Voice, deals non-elemental damage to enemies and flicks the silence status. This makes her useful for disabling enemies that rely on magic. I couldn't find what exactly this was referring to, but I would assume it was in Ultimacia's castle. Distorted reflections are used as a visual cue to represent the fractured nature of time compression and the party's journey through a world that no longer adheres to linear logic. The descent of monsters from the moon is visually mirrored by the events happening on Earth, symbolizing a cause and effect relationship between celestial and terrestrial forces. While the game doesn't explicitly confirm this, the visual design and atmosphere of Delling City share notable parallels with the French capital, particularly in the terms of its architecture, layout, and cultural cues. One of the most direct comparisons is the Arc of Triomphe in Delling City, which resembles Paris's Arc de Triomphe. Both structures are central to their respective cities and symbolize grandeur and power. The term thriller in Final Fantasy VIII often refers to a blend of suspenseful, mysterious, or eerie elements within the game, invoking the feeling of a dramatic or tense narrative twist. The thriller aspects can be seen in specific story beats, locations, or themes that keep players on edge and deeply engaged. I'm gonna give a short briefing for each book and their meaning. Occult Fan 1. This issue introduces Guardian forces and provides lore about their nature and the way they interact with humans. It also talks about the importance of the sorceress and their connection to magic, focusing on how the world views these powerful individuals. Occult Fan 2. This issue dives deeper into monster lore and the creatures that roam the world of Final Fantasy VIII. It expands on the supernatural elements, including Guardian forces. It reveals some of the powers behind the sorcerers and their impact on the world. Occult Fan 3. The third issue continues to explore the mystical and arcane powers at play, delving more into the role of Ultimecia and other ancient otherworldly forces. It provides additional insights into the Lunar Cry and the Moon's connection to the story, revealing its dark past. Occult Fan 4. The final issue wraps up the series by discussing more about the sorceress Idea and her transformation into a powerful witch, as well as insights into Ultimecia's eventful rise to power. It further explores the nature of time manipulation, time compression, and the game's other supernatural themes. If we were to reverse Quistis' backstory or journey, she could be portrayed as someone who does not rise to become a teacher, or maybe she failed the seed exam. Or she could have never met Skull and his team. This would result in her playing a different, possibly more tragic or different role in the story of Final Fantasy VIII. A special side game that was included with the game's release. This minigame was available on the Pocket Station, a Japan-only peripheral device for the PlayStation 1. Players could transfer their Chocobo data from Final Fantasy VIII to the Pocket Station and play the minigame, which would allow them to raise a Chocobo and bring them back to the main game. One of the most important causes of memory loss in Final Fantasy VIII is the summoning of Guardian forces, which, when characters junction GFs to their magic and abilities, they lose fragments of their memories. This side effect is a crucial plot point practically, as it affects the main character's abilities to recall certain events and details about their past, especially their time at the Balam Garden orphanage. There are 7 Chocobo forests in the game, located in various regions on the world map. These are small circular areas covered in trees. Inside each forest you'll meet Chocoboy, a young Chocobo trainer who offers to help you catch a Chocobo for a small fee. If you have access to the Pocket Station, a Japan-only device, you can transfer your Chocobo into the minigame, Chocobo World, where it can find rare items and rewards to bring back to the main game. I couldn't find what this was referring to, but I would assume it's about Sephia Almasi. He shares the same orphanage background as the main party, but takes a drastically different path, aligning with the game's antagonist and ultimately becoming a tool for Ultimecia. His divergence from the group makes him an odd one out thematically. Ultima Weapon guards the Eden GF, one of the most powerful Guardian forces in the game. One of its attacks, Light Pillar, deals 10,000 damage to a single character, bypassing all defenses. The fact that Ultima Weapon is not tied to the main story makes it a hidden gem for players. While no explicit graphic magazine exists in the game as an item or collectible, the reference is a memorable joke tied to the game's lighter, more comedic moments. During the Timber mission while the Timber Maniac's building, The party encounters a variety of items and decorations. If you interact with certain NPCs or objects in this room, there's a line of dialogue where one of the characters jokes about Zell finding a naughty magazine. The Tomberry King appears after defeating approximately 20 to 50 regular Tomberries within the central ruins. This grindy task requires patience but rewards persistence with the sudden appearance of the king as a boss battle begins. Cacti Island, near the Kashkabal Desert, becomes accessible later in the game once you acquire the Ragnarok ship in Disc 3. Jumbo Cacti is visible on the world map as a teeny moving sprite in the sand. One attack, 10,000 needles, a devastating attack that deals a fixed 10,000 damage to one character, capable of instant KO. At low health, Jumbo Cacti will tilt sideways, signifying it's about to run away. Players must finish it off quickly to avoid losing the battle and having to restart. The brothers, Sacred, the younger brother, and Minotaur, the elder brother, are Earth Elemental Guardians residing in the Tomb of the Unknown King. They've forgotten an ancient structure on the world map. Their personalities and banter set them apart from other GFs. The Tomb of the Unknown King hints at a Voyage era where these brothers were revered. Their presence as protectors suggests they were once guardians of a sacred site, defending it from intruders. In Final Fantasy VIII, Cerberus is summoned as a fearsome creature that provides a range of abilities that enhance the party's defensive and offensive capabilities. As a guardian of the underworld, Cerberus is often seen as a protector of the spiritual realm. In a duel with his rival, Sephir, both end up giving each other diagonal mirroring scars across the face. Carbuncle has a mystical yet approachable presence. Its lore is tied to the idea of protection and defense, as it's traditionally depicted as a creature that shields its allies from harm using supportive powers. I have no idea what this could be referring to, but I think it means it's talking about the escape command, an ability that allows characters to escape from battles, but there's no specific ability called Easy Escape. By using the card mod ability, which can be learned from Quetzalcoatl, you can exchange cards that you've won through the Triple Triad game for items. Some of these cards will give you potions or other items like high potions, ethers, or phoenix downs when converted. The strongest card in Final Fantasy VIII is the Ultimate card, which has the value of 255. This card is obtained by defeating the Ultimate weapon and using the card mod ability to transform it. The Ultimate card is useful not only in Triple Triad but also can be transformed into valuable items like Ultimate spells. In Final Fantasy VIII, there's an exploit that allows you to generate infinite gil by using the Recover Med Refine ability. To do this, you must first buy 100 tents for 100,000 gil, then refine them into mega potions which you can sell back at shops for a significant profit. Using abilities like Haggle, Sell High, and Familiar from the Tomberry GF, you can boost the gil earned per cycle to over 500,000 gil. This makes the process extremely efficient for generating unlimited gil. Reach the Central Ruins. You can access this area once you have the ability to drive Balam Garden around the world map. The ruins are located on the continent south of the center of the map. You'll need to head here once Balam Garden can travel freely. Pandemona is a guardian force in Final Fantasy VIII that is drawn from either Fujin in Balam during Disc 2 or the Red Giant in Ultimisia's Castle. It specializes in boosting speed and strength stats, which can significantly enhance your character's combat effectiveness. Alexander is a guardian force associated with the Holy Element. He can be drawn from Edea during the final battle in Disc 2, and if missed, can be drawn from Kerobolas in Ultimisia's Castle. Alexander's signature attack, Holy Judgment, deals holy base damage, which is practically effective as few enemies resist it. Leviathan is a powerful guardian force in Final Fantasy VIII. Known for its water-based abilities, it's a serpent-like creature depicted with pale blue scales. that uses its command of water to summon the devastating tsunami attack, which hits all enemies with a large watery force. There's also a known glitch to where if you repeatedly use Leviathan, the attack will push them away far enough to where they'll get insta-killed. Jira Jira was censored in certain regions, most notably the North American and European releases. Originally, the creature's appearance, which included grotesque and deformed features and suggestive traits, was toned down for these markets. Specifically, the creature's appearance was modified to be less disturbing, practically in its overall design. The changes were a part of a broader trend of censorship in video games at the time, where certain designs or content that might be censored and inappropriate for younger audiences was altered before release. The updated card graphics in Final Fantasy VIII Remastered received a mixed reception. The remastered visuals offered cleaner, more detailed look compared to the original, with sharper lines and more vibrant colors. However, some fans were critical of the changes to backgrounds and character models, feeling they lacked the charm and groundiness of the original. The island closest to heaven and the island closest to hell are two optional locations in Final Fantasy VIII that players can only access after obtaining the Ragnarok. These islands, located at the far east and west side of the world map, are home to some of the most powerful enemies and rare draw points in the game. The island closest to heaven features somewhat easier enemies like chimeras, Malboros, and Trifaces, while offering a variety of useful spells for junctioning such as Aura, Flare, and Ultima. The island closest to Hell, on the other hand, is home to much tougher monsters like Grendels, Ruby Dragons, and T-Rexars, and contains draw points to equally potent magic including Ultima, Triple, and Meteor. To maximize your experience and magic draw potential, it's recommended to equip an ability like Encounter None to navigate these islands more efficiently. For some reason, even if you equip the move Find ability, the hidden draw points won't appear for some reason. Despite that, if you junction Death to your elemental attack, you can insta-kill each enemy encounter on both islands. Gilgamesh is a recurring and much-loved character in the Final Fantasy series, making appearances across multiple titles, known for his quirky personality and comedic presence. He is often portrayed as a formidable and somewhat bumbling warrior, driven by his obsession with collecting legendary swords. In 2004, the Olympics hosted a show where the Final Fantasy VIII soundtrack played in the background. In Final Fantasy VIII, the level of monsters is based on the average level of your party members. Monsters' levels are automatically adjusted within a set range, usually falling within the party's average level, landing positive or negative 10. This means that as your characters level up, so do the monsters, which keeps the game challenging throughout. Some areas or monsters may have expectations, such as being fixed at a particular level, for story-based reasons. This likely refers to the localization change from the original Japanese version. In the Japanese version, Zell mentions craving curry bread from the cafeteria, a much more specific and culturally significant type of bread. However, in the English localization version, this was changed to hot dogs for relatability. Even though curry bread, a specific savory type of bread, has more cultural significance in Japan. In real life, several communities and individuals have created physical versions of Triple Triad. Some of these are officially licensed by Square Enix, while others are fan-made creations. There are also digital adaptations of the game, such as unofficial websites and apps where players can collect cards and challenge others in Triple Triad. There are unused areas of Shumi Village in the game's files that hint at a larger, more developed version of the village. Some of these areas were removed from the final version of the game, but data miners and fans have uncovered them. One of these areas is a cave beneath the village, which was meant to house an additional quest or challenge related to the village's deeper secrets. While this content isn't accessible in the game, it speaks to the ambition Square Enix had for making Shuumi Village more complex. As you level up Selphie, her magic and speed stats tend to grow, making her a great mage and support character. However, she doesn't get as much in terms of raw power in physical combat, so it's essential to leverage her limit break and magic skills for optimal performance. Before the magazine Shonen Jump revealed the name Renoa Hartley, many publications translated the name as Linoye, which means light. Romaji's transcription of Linoye is Renoa. The French translation comes closer to this, calling her Lenoa, also a Haitian female name meaning light of the earth. Selphie is a significant character in Final Fantasy VIII for many reasons, including her role as a pilot for the Ragnarok starship, her participation in extracurricular activities, and her development as a character throughout the game. The concept of salvaged characters in Final Fantasy VIII likely refers to the characters that, despite potentially being seen as less significant or underutilized by players, actually have hidden values or deeper aspects that can be appreciated with more exploration or understanding of the game. These characters might not always get the spotlight, but are important in their own right. The Card Club in Final Fantasy VIII is a fun and engaging minigame that revolves around collecting and playing cards to earn rewards and progress through the set of card-based challenges. The Card Club is essentially a group of elite card players scattered across the game world, and your goal is to defeat each member in card battles to earn new cards and increase your rank within the club. In the early concept art and designs for Squall during the game's development, there were versions of him with longer hair, which was later altered to the shorter, spiky style that most players recognize in the final game. This version of Squall was a part of the art direction for the character, which was later adjusted to fit the cool, aloof, and stoic personality that Squall was meant to embody. In Final Fantasy VIII, you can get the Gilgamesh card by beating King, a member of the Card Club group. Angela Reverse is an ability that revives Renoa if she falls in battle, allowing her to keep fighting. When activated, Angelo performs a move that resurrects Renoa, and it's a form of healing that doesn't use any items or magic. Angelo's strong emotional bond with Renoa is central to her abilities. This bond seems to transcend the ordinary relationship between a human and a dog, bordering on a kind of spiritual connection. This could explain Angelo's uncanny ability to detect when a party member is in distress or has fallen. Doom Train is often seen as a phantom train that haunts the rails of the Final Fantasy VIII's world. His design and abilities make him a mysterious and ominous force, fitting into the game's dark, haunting atmosphere. The Legacy of the Dragons, representing one of the most ancient creatures in the world, Bahamut's presence connects to the greater mythos of the game, where many GFs are tied to powerful ancient beings. Eden's name is a reference to the Garden of Eden, a mythical place of perfection and creation in biblical lore. In the French localization of Final Fantasy VIII, Renoa, one of the central characters of the game, is referred to as Lenoa. This change, which might seem minor, has intrigued fans and raised questions about localization practices, character identity, and the reasoning behind name changes in translated versions of the game. The name Renoa might have been adjusted to Lenoa in the French version to make it easier to pronounce for a French-speaking audience. Renoir could potentially be misheard or sound awkward in French phonetics. When you are at the Galbadian missile base, you are trying to use a computer terminal to reconfigure missiles. On this terminal, there is an option to view various equipment involved in the missile strike. By holding down triangle and square, press up or down, try both. You'll get hidden views of a soldier and an elite soldier, and they dance on the monitor. Lionheart has several layers of significance, from gameplay to thematic connections to the story. Lionheart is the name of Skull's ultimate gunblade, crafted from rare items. The term Lionheart directly ties to Squall's last name, Leonheart. Squall's gunblade and Griever, his chosen symbol, incorporated lion design, emphasizing his identity as a warrior with strength and resolve. At Obal Lake, located northeast of Timber, players can interact with a mysterious stalking shadow. This shadow provides cryptic clues leading to hidden treasures scattered across the game's overworld. The quest requires careful exploration and interpretation of the shadow's riddles, with some clues being notoriously vague. However, nearing the end of the Black Shadow side quest, Skull returns to the Black Shadow. After collecting all the stones, with each having an encrypted message on it, the grid is a 4x6 matrix. The Black Shadow responds, "Hello, this must be all the rocks. I wonder what it means." Reading it from top right downwards, from each column reveals, Mordred Plains has treasure. Mordred Plains is an area northwest of Esther, sandwiched between two mountain ranges. The start of this side quest occurs with this message: there are many multicolored rocks with faces all over the place. There are 4 colored rocks here, although they don't actually appear on the world map. Blue, white, black, and red. They give the player, or rather try to give them, clues to the final item. Pressing X prompts messages from the rocks as long as the player is within the area. When the player gets the red rock talking, it is possible to keep talking to it as it gives more than one direction. If it gives a direction, it is easiest to press X again until it gives another direction. Then go to the opposite of the 2 directions. The treasure is found faster this way. Completing the quest rewards the player with a 3 stars and a Luck J scroll. Sighting of a UFO was first mentioned in Occult Fan 4, a magazine that centers around bizarre and mysterious events happening around the world. Despite being unrelated to this side quest, as the UFO sighting from that magazine is really just the GF Doom Train. After seeing the UFO in the central ruins, players can continue to investigate by heading to the Balam Garden. If you complete the right steps, including visiting the UFO sighting multiple times and entering the garden, a character called Poo Poo may appear, an oddly shaped alien-like creature. After the 4th sighting, the player must fly the Ragnarok to Grand Didi Forest in northern Esther and land on the highlands above the Chocobo Sanctuary, and they will have a close-up encounter with the UFO. The player can visit the Balam Island where Balam Garden used to be to find Poo Poo, who will ask the party for 5 elixirs. If the player appeases, they get the unique Poo Poo card. The Queen of Cards is a non-playable character in Final Fantasy VIII. A master of Triple Triad, she controls regional rules and is a part of a side quest to obtain rare cards. Her real name is unknown. This may likely refer to people losing Selphie's magic list after Lagina's dream sequence, but this has been disproven since the game will just automatically switch their junctions and magic over to the other characters at certain times in the story. Parasite Eve was a game made as a test to see what they could reach regarding graphics, character modeling, FMV, VFX, etc. It was a serious project, but also a place for them to further develop their assets and skills for the new platforms as they were still learning and trying. For example, FF7 is a mess regarding programming, data, and graphics. Those separated program instances showing different 3D models, for example. General functionality, etc., and at the same time, they were trying to make 3D games and still using 2D graphics, like in Xenogears, for example, and Saga Frontier, 2D with a few 3D assets. FF8 is a direct result of what they achieved and learned making Parasite Eve. Throughout everything I've searched about this topic, I still have no clue what it could be referring to. If you have any ideas, please suggest them in the comments down below. At level 100, Omega has over 1,000,000 HP. It is always at level 100 in the PlayStation version, but can be any level in the PC version and remastered version. After defeating it, the player unlocks the proof of Omega in the game's help/tutorial section that congratulates the player for defeating the game's toughest boss. Firecross is Sephia's limit break skill set in Final Fantasy VIII, whereas the player can only use one skill when Sephia is playable as a guest. No Mercy, Sephia uses his other skills in the boss battles against him. Uniquely, Sephia is the only playable character who can execute his limit break below 84% of his max HP, whereas the others need to be in critical HP condition. Boko is a Chikobo, the term for a young chocobo used in Final Fantasy VIII, summoned using Gilgash Greens to battle. He is a Persuado Guardian Force, but cannot be junctioned onto a party member like most others. In the original versions, the player must level up Boko up in the add-on game Chocobo World that was only available in Japan for the original PlayStation release. This is referring to the fact that some people in Balam Garden or in any other area of the game, people don't have GFs junctioned to them, begging the question, how can they cast magic? While in other terms, Sephia's ability to cast magic, even without a GF junction to him, could stem from his intense training and innate ability to harness a personal chi-like energy to cast magic and other various acts without GFs. This refers to when the sorceress was presenting her speech in Delling while she was doing some unethical actions up there and while the crowd was still cheering. Some say she could have casted a spell on them, deceiving their emotions, but it's clear the crowd starts to realize what's going on when the camera pans out. This refers to completing the game with the highest possible level of thoroughness, efficiency, and mastery. This involves optimizing characters, collecting rare items, mastering all available abilities, and ensuring nothing is missed. It's a significant challenge requiring knowledge of the game's mechanics, side quests, and secrets. At the end of Disc 1, Squall and his friends face Idea on the parade floor in Delling City. After the fight, when Idea seems defeated, she conjures an enormous ice shard and propels it through Squall's chest. Squall stumbles back and falls off the platform. He sees Renault above reaching to him as he falls. Squall closes his eyes and dies. The entire remaining game time from the beginning of Disc 2 to the second half of the ending movie is a dream. There's even a whole website dedicated to investigating about this topic. That's how serious this entry is. Although this was debunked by one of the directors of the game, people are still led to somehow believe that Squall died at the end of Disc 1, but there's still supposedly evidence supporting this topic. It goes, in the later half of Disc 1, 2 conversations take place concerning Sephia's fate, and if they ever will be executed on attacking the president of Galbadia. During these sections of dialogue, Squall mutters to himself on the existential qualities of death. Will they talk about me this way if I die too? Squall was this and that, using the past tense, saying whatever they want, so this is what death is all about. In this manner, Squall considers his own death and what little difference it would make for the world. This serves as foreboding and ominous suggestion to the viewer that ill times are ahead. So yeah, as confusing as this is, people are just mostly on the fence when it comes to a theory like this. The Renoa Ultimacia theory suggests that Renoa becomes Ultimacia in the distant future. citing physical similarities, the potential of sorceress longevity, and thematic ties like Ultimasia's hatred of Seed. However, this theory conflicts with the game's established lore about sorceress inheritance. Ultimacia explicitly stated origins in a future where sorceresses are persecuted, and the thematic focus on Renoa's compassionate and hopeful character arc. The Dissidia 012 Final Fantasy character file for Ultimacia refers to Eloni as a sorceress, but this is an erroneous translation, as the Japanese profile merely refers to her as one with power over memories. This likely refers to the original Ragnarok crew, although it is unknown what happened between then and its rediscovery in space, nor is it known what happened to its two counterparts, but when Squall and Renoa happen to stumble upon it, it is infested by monsters known as propagators. It can be assumed that the crew were killed, as there were notes left behind regarding these beasts, hinting at a history of propagator infection. The protagonist of Final Fantasy VII, Cloud Strife, is alluded to the shop title, Cloud's Shop. This is not the case in the original Japanese version of the game, where the shop is called Esta Shop, which can be pronounced Esta Shoppu. Squall was born to Rani Loyer in the village of Windhill, but she died shortly after his birth. Her husband, Lagina, never knew Rani was pregnant, as he was in Esta saving his adopted daughter, Alani, from sorceress Adele's clutches. The Squall and Alani, whom Lagina sent back to Windhill ahead of him, were sent to Idea's orphanage on the Central Continent. The design of Squall Leonhardt in Final Fantasy VIII was notably inspired by the actor River Phoenix. Character designer Tetsuya Nomura revealed in his interviews that he used River Phoenix's face as a reference while creating Squall, practically drawing inspiration from Phoenix's striking features, such as his sharp jawline, piercing eyes, and distinctive scar above his lips. In the remastered version of Final Fantasy VIII, the developers made a subtle but noticeable alliteration to Sirens' design to align with modern content standards. In the original 1999 release, Sirens' design featured a somewhat revealing outfit with her torso partially exposed in a way that emphasized her ethereal and outworldly nature. Final Fantasy VIII Ultimania reveals that a famous movie was released about a sorceress who defended her country, and the knight who protected her, though not directly stated, is implied the movie inspired Sephia's dream to become a sorceress's knight himself, copying the weapon and the battle pose of the actor who played the knight in the film, which so happened to be Squall's father, Lagina. I found an old article dating back 17 years ago. In 2007, a user by the name of True Sephiros goes on to say, Zell, he is the most overpowered offensive character for any Final Fantasy game to ever date before or after. His limit break allows for endless amounts of damage depending on how fast you really are. The trick to his limit break is that at the beginning, depending upon how much time will decide whether you get a punch rush. Punch rush coincides with 4 and 6 seconds, or booyah coincides with 9 and 12 seconds. After doing either command, then switching between booyah and heal drop since they are easy to remember. He states more about the topic, but we would be here all day. Minimog is a Persuadio Guardian Force in Final Fantasy VIII that is summoned with the command Minimog learned by any GF through the item Mog's Amulet, received from the Pocket Station game Chocobo World, original versions, or Angelo Search. I'm not kidding when I say I spent an hour trying to find solid proof of what this could mean and found literally nothing. If anyone watching this video who even has a single clue of what this means, please state it in the comments section. I have no clue what this could be referring to, but I would assume it's the idea that other Final Fantasy games share the same universe. Despite this Iceberg being made 3 years ago back in 2021 before FF16 came out, a user by the name of Belarius had a theory of his own which I really like. He assumes that FF16 and FF8 share the same universe, his theory being FF16 and FF8 share a world separated by 10,000 years apart. Not knowing which came first, but supporting his theory, he leaves a GIF attached to the post, showcasing him sliding the opacity bar of the FF16 map on top of FF8's trivia region. He doesn't elaborate much after this other than replying to a few of the threads in his post. He quotes, "Lore is surprisingly compatible. Both games revolve around aliens from the moon trying to control and eliminate the free will of people. Ultima and Adele both look extremely similar to each other and both completely lack emotion, even the way econs and GFs work is identical. The individual that possesses the econ are slowly being killed and losing who they are by the econs or GF's power." Crisis level was a hidden mechanic in Final Fantasy VIII used to determine how often a character's limit break will appear, as well as their damage outputs and additional statuses. The crisis level is invisible to the player but is used in the game's coding to determine limit break outcomes. Crisis level has no effect on the chance to summon Odin. Crisis level increases when a character is in HP critical status. Their current HP is below 25% of their max HP. While Sephi only requires less than 84% of his max HP, there are 4 levels of crisis level, and aside from current HP, various status also factor into determining what a character's crisis level is. The diminishing sorceresses in Final Fantasy VIII represent the slow erosion of the sorceresses themselves, as they are once powerful fragments across generations overshadowed by humanity's technological advancements and the rise of artificial magic like paramagic and guardian forces. Sorceresses are now relics of a fading era, persecuted and mistrusted, with their magic no longer the unique force it once was. Rinoa's role as one of the last known sorceresses raises unsettling questions. Is she the final echo of a dying lineage, or the key to unlocking a new and unexpected chapter in their forgotten history? And that's the end of FF8's Iceberg. There's a high likelihood that I got a few things wrong and lacked a bit of knowledge on most entries, and for that, I apologize. Please feel free to correct me in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content from me, you can check out my second channel where I'll be uploading past live streams, and I'll also be streaming on Twitch, and feel free to join my Discord. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you later.